Hi, I'm Alex Paulton. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Talking Timepieces, where we talk about watch collecting and horology. Today I was going to talk about this very fake, good fake, but still fake, Breitling for Bentley chronograph, but it will be the next episode. Today, I'm going to have a small rant about horology and watchmaking in particular, and to be very specific, materials used in watchmaking. Very specifically, silicon in watchmaking. Now, the problem is that the issue is clouded. Are watches with silicon parts real watches or not? And that crap is based on misinformation, under information, or blatant disingenuous presentation. And I'm going to address it directly and point out exactly what silicon parts in a mechanical watch mean and what silicon components in an electromechanical watch means. And just to lay a quick groundwork, I'm an opinioned watch collector. I talk about the watches in my collection and what I think about them, and they're my opinion. And people are welcome to challenge that opinion. But my opinions are based on fact. They're based on my direct observations, my measurements, and the actual specifications of the watch. And I may be a watch collecting hobbyist, but there are two things that I am an acknowledged professional in. One of them is journalism, and the other is technology. And I got into a discussion, an argument, yesterday on a live chat about the aspect of silicon in electronics, and frankly, it kind of it got me so frustrated that people could either be A, so misinformed, or B, so disingenuous, flip a coin, that they would say things that are bad for watch collecting. And I mean that when I say bad for watch collecting. It's okay to have an opinion. And it's okay to talk about what you think is better or not in watches and in watch mechanisms. For example, I think mechanical watches as a collecting goal are better than quartz watches in that context. But if I were going to go on a camping trip and someone said, well, hey, what would you choose? I might go with a quartz watch, a Victorinox Inox or something along those lines. I gave mine to my daughter, but I might actually rebuy that one because I'm currently using my Universal Genève as a beater, but then I realized I should sell that thing if I'm going to use it as a beater and get myself a quartz watch for that application space, as it were. So in my position, if I'm going to hold in arrogance, I would say wear a watch with hands. I don't consider a watch without hands a watch. I consider it a wrist data display. Some watches that are made as watches are digital watches like the Casio G-Shock and the like. But I think a digital watch is a utilitarian function of a watch. And it doesn't make it not a watch either. I think a Casio or a Seiko or whoever's LCD watch is still a watch. It's just a digital watch, and in my mind's a better watch, as in something to look at and get an acknowledgement of the time at a glance, is a watch with hands. So yes, there are opinions that one can have within the industry, but they have to be based on fact. Okay, a watch with hands tells time with hands. A watch with digital liquid crystal displays tells time, tells watch. I'm paraphrasing Casablanca. But if you say I don't like digital watches, you're basing it on a direct fact. They display information differently than a watch with hands. Or if you say I don't like mechanical watches. I prefer quartz watches. That's not to say you're not stating that the mechanical watches are not something they aren't. You're not stating that digital watches are not something they aren't. But the problem with the debate about silicon parts in mechanical watches is there's a lot of misinformation, lack of information, and like I said, outright disingenuous behavior out there. And the argument I got into, as I was saying, was on Watch Art's Eye, and I'm calling him out because I like Bill. I subscribe to his channel, and I'm going to continue to subscribe to his channel. But if I disagree with someone, I'm going to say, hey, I think you have an interesting opinion. I disagree with it. Or in this specific case, I disagree with his opinion, and I disagree with his attitude, and I disagree with his facts because he's wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He obviously doesn't know what he is talking about in the conversation because his position is silicon makes it less a watch. And when the example that was brought up was the silicon hairspring in the Omega escapement, the coaxial escapement, which is also an oxymoronic argument because he lauds Omega for using a coaxial escapement, recognizing that it is a mechanical escapement, and then dings them for using silicon as a hairspring, which is a materials choice. And that's where it comes down to materials versus electronics. Now, just to wave bona fides around just for the hell of it, this is an article I wrote in 1984 on electronic games and video gaming. And I'm currently the editor of Evaluation Engineering magazine, which is a magazine for embedded electronics technology developers. I write about microcontrollers and chips today, okay? And when I hear people misrepresenting facts, it pisses me off. And I actually got into an argument with him in the live chat. And he blew me off. And I said, hey, I got 20 years of experience in the embedded electronics space. I was referring to direct experience writing for electronic design engineering. I've been in the electronic space since I was an Army soldier doing electronic warfare here in Germany in 1981. So I got the 40 years too, so he could cram it up his butt. And like I said, I like him. But when you become pretentious and judgmental, and I'm being judgmental, frankly, I am, but I'm not being pretentious about it. The facts are there. I'm not saying that he has to listen to me because I have 40 years of experience in electronics. I'm saying my 40 years of experience in electronics tells me these facts. And unless you can say these facts are incorrect or prove to me these facts are incorrect, your argument is invalid. So when the Omega silicon hairspring came up, Bill conflated it in the same second, in the same breath, with Seiko spring drive. All right, now here's a Seiko spring drive. I have a video on the Seiko spring drive. I also have a video on, I'm getting excited about this because this pisses me off. This is such, if Bill's 40 years in the industry with the computers and he swears he knows about silicon, he's being disingenuous. Otherwise, he's demonstrating he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's obviously never been a car guy. It's like being a driver, for all your life and saying you know how to design an engine. All right, I don't know how to do software. I'm a hardware guy. I've always been a hardware guy, and I can tell you the exact difference between an electromechanical system and a mechanical system that uses exotic materials. And that's what silicon's being used in the context of a hairspring. If you replace the hairspring in this, the silicon hairspring in this watch with a piece of standard metal hairspring, it would continue to function. Not in the way that Omega designed it, but replacing the part, direct replacement of the part for another material in a mechanical system would result in continued operation. I could replace the piece, not the hairspring, but I could replace the pallet fork with a piece made out of wood. It wouldn't work for long, but it would work because it's a mechanical system. Now, the spring drive uses an electromagnetic clutch driven by a quartz crystal that draws the power from the parasitic energy drained out of the clutch as it regulates a mainspring-driven mechanical movement. There is no hairspring in this because there is no escapement in this. There is a mechanical clutch. Now, to conflate the silicon electronics in an electromechanical device like spring drive with a mechanical materials solution, they chose silicon for its materials properties. And yes, it's easy to fabricate because they can create it in a wafer fab. But are you telling me that Rolex hammers out the parachrome hairspring and draws it through a metal die to make the hairsprings? No, a parachrome hairspring is as complex, if not more expensive, high-level Industry 4.0 procedure to make than this. So please, a silicon hairspring is a mechanical solution using silicon as a material. An electronic solution with silicon as a logic piece, if I replaced the clutch in this with a chunk of metal shaped exactly like it, it wouldn't work because it's electronic. There is a current flowing through here. There is no current flowing through here. There is no electronics, no voltage, no electrical potential. In fact, this is anti-magnetic to 15,000 gallons. It's amagnetic. It is the farthest from an electronic system. I'm getting excited again because this is so stupid that we have to argue about this. And I'm still going to post it, and I hope Bill comes back with an answer, because answer me that. This is an electronic system. This is a mechanical system. If you can't understand the difference, shut up and get out of the dialogue, okay? And I like you, but talk about what you know. And if you have an opinion that you don't think that silicon is worth it, then say, I don't believe it's worth it. But then don't be dismissive of the watches that have it. And that's the part that I hate. It's all right to have a different opinion, but to be judgmental and dismissive and say, don't buy those watches. For example, I was attacked because people were thinking I'm saying, well, don't buy handmade watches. Hell no, I'd love to have a handmade watch. But because I would love to have a handmade watch with incredibly crafted equipment, like if I can afford an Elange Unsuna, I'd buy it tomorrow. But the fact is that using silicon as a material is still watchmaking. If Lecoq in 1844 had, when he invented the micron measuring device to make more precision equipment, what people would say, hey, that's not watchmaking, you're supposed to use your hands. Show me where any mainspring, any hairspring in this industry is not made with the use of machinery. So, at what level do you say it doesn't become true watchmaking? When the machine's no longer guided by a human hand? Or they're using materials you don't like because you have a prejudice against silicon for some weird-ass reason? They're using silicon as a material in these devices. They're not logic components. They're not power devices. They're, like I said, there's no current flowing through this watch. All right? There is current flowing through this watch. One has a silicon escapement, or I should say silicon-based escapement, using materials technology, silicon as a material, in a mechanical device. And the other is an electronic device being driven by power. And if you don't know those differences, and you want to conflate those two to tar other watches as bad, then you're a bad collector. I'm sorry. And you need to change your opinion. Or not change your opinion, but state your opinion and acknowledge the facts behind it. I don't like silicon hairsprings. They're not bad, but they're not my style. I don't like them. But to say silicon hairsprings aren't watchmaking is pompous. It's dismissive. And it's bad watch collecting. So that was my rant on the subject, and I'm sorry if I got excited, but I couldn't sleep last night. It upset me so much because it's one thing to have an opinion, it's another thing to lie or to be disingenuous. And the fact is, silicon components in a mechanical watch is not the same as an electronic watch. And if you try to conflate the two, either you don't know what you're talking about or you think we're too stupid to understand the difference. Okay? So that's my rant. Please leave your comments below, and I will be very, very civil in responding to them. I'm upset with the concept. People can change their minds. I'm not saying I will never watch Bill again. Like I said, I subscribe to his channel. But in this issue, I think he's completely wrong. He's so wrong that it damages him. But he can change his opinion. I'm not saying that he has to say that silicon watches are high horology, but to dismiss them is, like I said, arrogance. And his attitude is not healthy for the watch collecting industry. And if you think that mine isn't, let me know. Like I said, I'd really like to know. I'm just a collector. This is just a hobby channel. And when I think of people saying things that are bad for the hobby, it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help them as much as they think it does. You know, and I respect a lot of what Bill has to say. But to have a watch and be proud that it doesn't work well, that's not what Antoine Lecoq intended when he made a device to make watches more precise. And to turn your nose up at precision just for precision's sake, or to be anti-precisionist, that's Luddism. Well, like I said, please leave your comments and thoughts in the comments below, and I'll answer everybody's, and I'll be as civil as humanly possible, because like I said, I'm not against people, I'm against bad ideas. Okay? Let's get this one out of the industry. It's a bad idea and it doesn't need to be there. It's bad for watch keeping and everything. Collecting, I mean. Okay? Have a great day, everybody, and thanks a lot for letting me rant a little bit and taking the time to listen.